First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello everyone, this is Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler. As always, we appreciate you joining us. We live stream here out of the Fox 12 Oregon newsroom every weekday, starting around 1 p.m., going throughout the afternoon and covering a wide range of topics. Today, we are talking about ghost guns. So this is certainly something that a lot of people have seen in the news in association with what happened in New York and the weapon that was used in the murder of the CEO from United Healthcare. This is also something that's been discussed in a lot of other ways as well. And so what we wanted to do for this segment is just get a bit more of a clarification as far as what constitutes a ghost gun. What are the regulations in Oregon? What are we seeing nationally? And just get a better idea of this. This may be knowledge that some of you already have. It may be something that's brand new to a lot of other people. So really it's to clarify that. And we had a conversation with Olivia Li from Everytown, which is a gun safety advocacy organization. They help craft laws in a number of different places. So we talked to Olivia about this, just got some more information to understand exactly what those things are that I just mentioned, ghost guns. We'll talk about serial numbers, a few different things during this. So let's jump right into it. Here's Olivia on Fox 12 Now. Olivia, thank you for having some time to talk to us today. You know, this is such a pertinent issue for a lot of reasons, but naturally we're seeing the term ghost gun in a lot of places right now in association with what happened in New York. And I think to give everybody a better understanding of this, we may be familiar with the term, but not everybody may be familiar with what exactly a ghost gun is. Could you walk us through what that is?
Sure. In general, a ghost gun is a firearm that lacks a serial number, and serial numbers are tools that law enforcement and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms use to trace crime guns that are recovered at crime scenes. So serial numbers are really important. Ghost guns can lack serial numbers for a variety of reasons. It could be that they were never serialized in the first place. It could be that they were built from, a 3D printer that used plastic, or it could be that they were built, from separate unserialized parts that were purchased online. But in general, a ghost gun is called such because it's not able to be traced back to the person who fired it.
So it does sound like there's a number of ways that those can come about. So could that even qualify as just something that would say was, somebody filed it off? Would that then be qualify as a ghost gun?
Okay. So I think even before there was the concept of ghost guns, there have been laws about obliterating or filing off serial numbers, but I think you could think of that as a ghost gun as well.
And something that that you brought up there that we're seeing a lot of people doing are buying the parts online, maybe even 3D printing. How prevalent has that become for firearms, I guess, in the United States in general?
I know it's a growing problem. I know that in certain states, law enforcement or they believe they're recovering a higher percentage of unserialized firearms or ghost guns that they believe are made from 3D printers. I don't have exact numbers on that, but it does seem like the technology is becoming more widespread, and only a few states have very directly addressed the technology that 3D printers or milling machines that can, shape metal work with to create these firearm parts or these firearms.
And talking about those regulations, for the state of Oregon, which is where we're at, what are some of the general regulations and rules that apply towards ghost guns here?
Sure. So Oregon passed a very comprehensive ghost gun ban and ghost gun law in its 2023 legislative session. It was a big achievement for that year, I think, given some of the context around the Republican walkouts. So Oregon's law makes it illegal to manufacture unserialized firearms or to possess or sell unserialized firearms and parts. Those parts are known as frames and receivers. Under federal law, licensed gun dealers have to sell only serialized frames and receivers, but there can be some loopholes in the federal system. So it's really important that Oregon close those gaps, at least for its state and for its residents.
And when you talk about that for Oregon, so it's illegal for somebody to possess those, to hold those, what are some of the ramifications or penalties, generally speaking, that could happen to somebody who is caught with something like that?
I think for a first offense, it's a Class B violation, and for repeat offenses, it can escalate to steeper criminal charges like a Class A misdemeanor and then eventually to felonies. The point is, I think in Oregon, they wanted to give people some time to adjust to the law, so they didn't even enforce the possession ban until September 1st of this year. But the thing about ghost guns is that so many people that are interested in them might traffic them, or are the kinds of people that wouldn't be able to pass a background check at a federally licensed dealer anyway. And so it's really important to address that. And so if it starts to look like someone is trafficking or is unable to possess legally, that's when the penalties get much steeper.
And one thing you mentioned is that it needs to have a serial number, these guns, and there is a way to have a gun serialized. I don't know if that's the proper term, but there is a way to apply a serial number to a gun. Can you talk about that and how somebody could go about that if they do happen to be in possession of one currently without a serial number?
Sure. That's exactly the right word. It's serialization. The Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms has published extensive regulations and guidance on serializing what they call PMFs, or privately made firearms. What you do is you take it to a licensed gun dealer or an FFL, and you ask them to serialize your firearm. Many FFLs, like your ordinary gun dealers, will have the tools and technology to be able to do this, and you will not have to go through a background check, but it's a service that they can provide you, kind of like a customization, just at, when you're in there, and they can turn it around pretty quickly.
So there's a way for people to retroactively solve this issue and have those entered into the system and get them serialized. Looking at
clear, there's no system.
Gotcha.
Firearm. Yeah. So, what the I think what the serializing business will do is just put in maybe a paper log the serial number and the person who got the gun serialized.
Gotcha. Okay, so there'll be a record there of it. Okay. Mm-hmm. So yeah, definitely something I'll look into that a little bit more too, and educate myself on that some. When we talk about nationally, going back to what you mentioned, there's certain states where these bans are in effect. What is the general push nationally when it comes to ghost guns? Is there a push for a national regulation on this, or has something been attempted like that?
Yes, there's a bill. I don't know how many years it's been pending in Congress, but there's a bill that's meant to address the possession and maybe even manufacture of unserialized firearms. But right now, the only thing that federal law addresses is the fact that licensed gun dealers can only sell serialized parts or serialized firearms. Federal law does not yet address individuals who possess unserialized guns. That bill, I don't know how long it's been pending in Congress, but I don't think anyone has particularly high hopes, especially going into this session.
Yep. And another thing too, just to give everybody some context about your organization, could you tell us just about Everytown and what it is that you do?
Sure. Everytown for Gun Safety is the nation's largest gun violence prevention organization. I am a policy attorney at Everytown for Gun Safety. So I draft legislation, evaluate legislation. I helped with Oregon's Ghost Gun Bill in 2023. Our organization also has around 10 million grassroots members, which we call our field advocacy, part of our work, and we do work also in the courts. So we have people who litigate in defense of states and localities that want to regulate firearms for public safety reasons, and we also sue gun companies and firearms industry players that we think are acting unsafely and irresponsibly.
And looking at the national side of things, are there any general trends that you're noticing when it comes to weapons? I mean, obviously ghost guns seems to be more and more people have those, but anything that you think people should be aware of just as a national trend?
Sure. So I think over In general, over the past 5 years, there have been quite a few ghost guns recovered. The ATF estimates that over 71,000 ghost guns were recovered between 2016 and 2022. Those numbers are dropping off slightly because the early 2020s is when many states started to regulate. So nationally, we're in a position, at least right now, and maybe this will change if 3D printing and something called CNC milling or metal milling takes off, even more than it has already. But right now we're in a slight dip in I think the ghost gun recovery numbers. Nationally, we are seeing a concerning growth in modifications to semi-automatic firearms that allow them to shoot like machine guns. So you just pull the trigger once, and the firearm will continue to fire cartridges until the person releases the trigger. That's something that a machine gun is capable of doing and is illegal under federal law and in many states. But the devices that enable people to do that are rapidly growing, and law enforcement is having a real problem, in particular with Glock switches, which are the kind of handgun version of what those devices are.
Gotcha. So that's something, and I assume would bump stocks fall into that as well?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Stocks work a little bit differently, but they can have a similar effect.
And so it's something that you're seeing there as a trend, obviously, when it comes to these weapons. I think the last thing, I'd want to ask you, just for people who want to find out more information about what's going on and follow along with what you do, what is the best place that they can do that?
I think going to everytown.org is a great start. We have a huge research and legal sort of database of information, which is run in one part of our website, but if you go to everytown.org, you should be able to find anything that you would like to find. And we have described basically every state's gun laws in a part of our site called the Gun Law Rankings. So if your viewers wanted to learn more about Oregon's gun laws, they could go to Everytown Gun Law Rankings.
Perfect. Olivia, thank you very much for having some time to talk to us today. I appreciate you explaining this and, explaining it out in a way that everybody can understand, just as far as what is happening with these and what some of these regulations are. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
All right, so again, thank you to Olivia for joining us for that segment, as I mentioned there at the end. And hopefully that educated some people that may have brought up some other questions. So feel free to send us an email, fox12now@kptv.com. That's fox12now@kptv.com. And we'll see if we can get some of those answered. We can do follow-up segments to this. Obviously, it's a very big issue. A lot of opinions on that. We just tried to clarify some of that. And again, if you want to find out more information, we will have that at kptv.com, or send me an email and I'll see if we can do a segment about this specifically. This is Fox 12 Now. You can watch all of our shows at the Fox 12 Oregon YouTube channel at kptv.com, under the Fox 12 Now tab, or on the Fox 12 Oregon apps, whatever platform you're on. We've got an app for it. So plenty of places to see all of those. You can share these segments. We cover a wide range of things on this show. And feel free to, like I said, send us an email, fox12now@kptv.com. That's it for right now. I'll talk to you soon. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.